Galgun Returns takes players back to where it all started 10 years ago. Apprentice Cupid angel Pataka is nearing her graduation, and her final task is to shoot a student with a pheromone shot. Unfortunately, her equipment goes haywire, and a bevy of arrows is unloaded into the back of Tenzu Matasugi, an unpopular student who's about to become the hottest kid in school. Because of how many times he was shot, Tenzu has until the end of the day to profess his love to the girl of his dreams or risk being alone forever. It's a premise later games in the series have tweaked upon, but in Galgun Returns, the setup is at its most basic. There are no branching paths here, you simply pick a girl you want to pursue from the start and get going after her. Standing between you and a happily ever after are throngs of students and a few faculty members you need to satiate with those pheromone shots. As you move through the school, girls will ambush you unless you can pump them full of enough mojo to satisfy their needs. If there are ever too many girls to handle, you can activate Doki Doki mode and you'll get a chance to give one of the girls some personal euphoria. If you manage to hit all the right spots within the time limit, pleasing her will satisfy the rest of the girls on screen. While Galgun Returns is technically a rail shooter, it's a very primitive take on the genre, and in practice, it's closer to a simple shooting gallery than anything else. That's not a bad thing, as it's quite a decent shooting gallery game. My favorite shooting bits happen when you and your chosen waifu have a one-on-one moment with its own unique set of rules. Shoot the sheep, pick the lyrics, defeat the tentacle monster. I only wish it featured more moments like this, as the main narrative is a bit too limited and repetitive, as you'll see some locations multiple times running through the story mode with each girl. In fact, most of this game is pretty basic compared to what's come after it. It's not nearly as scandalous as Double Peace or Galgun 2, as it lacks some of the features that made those games as naughty as they are. You can't vacuum the clothes off of girls, Doki Doki mode is very hands-off, and while the game boasts 423 different pairs of panties, they can be difficult to see without heading into some of the other modes or changing up the girls' costumes. This definitely feels like Inti creates putting its toe in the water to see what it could get away with rather than diving straight in. Just like with the rest of the franchise, the girls in Galgun Returns look fantastic. The character models here are very bright and distinct, and while they may be wearing the same uniforms, I got to know most of them through my repeated playthroughs and return trips to Doki Doki mode. The school itself looks noticeably better than it did back on the Xbox 360, even if the art direction is rather sterile. Most of the school is bare and empty and lacking in vivid colors or lighting. While it isn't the best looking Galgun title on Switch, it runs well enough, with no noticeable drops in the frame rate, smooth reticule movement, and a control scheme that makes sense for the type of simple rail shooter it is. There are, however, far too many loading screens to sit through, and it would have been nice if more Switch features were worked into the remaster. There are no gyroscopic controls, no touch controls in handheld mode, and, most bizarrely, Galgun Returns manages to screw up one of the main selling points of the Switch. When playing on my television with my Pro Controller, I took my console out of the dock to play in handheld mode while I made dinner. Unfortunately, after I picked it up, none of the controls worked. Couldn't shoot, couldn't exit back to the title screen, couldn't work the menu. The only thing I could do is hit the home button to exit out of the game, and manually remove my Pro Controller so I could actually play in handheld mode. It's a strange oversight on the developer's part, and something I hope they fix in an update. If you find the experience to be to your liking, there is quite a bit of content to dive into. Galgun Returns has a ridiculous number of portraits to unlock, a fantasize mode where you can fight the controls to get the girls in the right position so you can, let's say, observe them, and a post-story campaign called Doki Doki Carnival that's mildly amusing and only moderately entertaining. You get all that plus most of the DLC that was released for the original game and new story elements that flesh out the narrative. Galgun Returns is a pretty decent remaster of a so-so game, barring a few issues. I don't think anybody is going to walk away from it arguing it's the best in the series, but it's worthwhile for fans who wanted to see where this franchise got its start. And if you're anything like me, it'll make you appreciate what's come after it all the more. For more news, previews, written reviews, and far fewer pairs of panties, please check out Destructoid.com.